Another turning point, a fork stuck in the road. Time grabs you by the wrist, directs you where to go. So make the best of this test and don't ask why. It's not a question but a lesson learned in time. It's something unpredictable, but in the end is right. I hope you had the time of your life. So take the photographs and still frames in your mind, hanging on a shelf in good health and good time. Tattoos of memories and dead skin on trial. For what it's worth, it was worth all the while. It's something unpredictable, but in the end is right. I hope you had the time of your life. It's something unpredictable, but in the end is right. I hope you had the time of your life. It's something unpredictable, but in the end is right. I hope you had the time of your life.
When the night has come and the land is dark and the moon is the only light we'll see, no, I won't be afraid. Oh, I won't be afraid, just as long as you stand by me. So darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Stand by me. If the sky that we look upon should tumble and fall, or the mountain should crumble to the sea, I won't cry, no, I won't shed a tear, just as long as you stand by me. And darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand now. Stand by me. Stand by me.
What was your favorite memory of Leadership Lincoln?
My favorite memory of Leadership Lincoln, since everybody brings it up, is the day that I rode my bicycle to Mahoney Park, and awesome applause that I got as I entered the room, totally pitted out, looking like an old geek with bicycle stuff on. It was awesome. It made me feel like I was okay, and it was great.
Nice. Okay, funniest person in our Leadership Lincoln class?
Funniest person in a Leadership Lincoln class has to be you, Carrie.
Wasn't supposed to be
You
me.
make me laugh, and your smile makes me laugh, and that's a good thing. The greatest thing about Leadership Lincoln is, for me, it was an opportunity to find my authentic self, because I am nearing 50, and you end up living your life looking at other people, trying to be maybe things that you're not. And Leadership Lincoln was a great focusing opportunity where you could look at everything that's going on in the community and figure out authentically where you fit in.
Sometimes in our lives, we all have pain, we all have sorrow, but if we are wise, we know that there's always tomorrow. Lean on me when you're not strong.
Leadership Lincoln was the first night of the retreat when we all went to the bait shop and played foosball, and Paul and I were playing all the guys, and I remember her and I looking at each other saying, have you ever met someone as competitive as yourself? And I knew then that I was going to make some good friends in Leadership Lincoln. And that night I remember looking around and there's so many diverse people, and I knew it was going to be a great experience to get to know those folks here in Lincoln and make some friends for years
What's
to
the most challenging thing about Leadership Lincoln?
I think the most challenging thing was to stretch yourself to look at all the different perspectives that we had in our class. And Annie was going to kill me, but I remember there's one time her and Chad went at it when we had our day with the poverty simulation, and they were coming at it at two different perspectives. And I think it was very challenging to take yourself out of your shoes and see where some other people were walking and understand what they were facing. So that was very interesting and challenging.
All right, Rick, what's your favorite memory of Leadership Lincoln Class 20?
Favorite memory of Leadership Lincoln Class 20? Anything that involved Justin, I think those were all good memories. All right, let me think. Yeah, give me a second here. This one's a little
tough.
Give me a little think time. I think it started off with Chad Villadal and the adventurous drive out to Ashland, in which we drove through Hillcrest Country Club which I didn't know that from 48th and Highway 2 you can go through Hillcrest in order to get to Ashland. But apparently Chad found that route, and we took that route into Ashland, which was an adventurous time. So that would have been a good memory. Geez, there were too many to our first time out that evening at the Bait and Bar in Ashland was an adventurous time. I had the pleasure of having Flying J breakfast and discussing a wonderful political moment with Andrew Loudon. And I must say he's the first man that I ever met carried a picture of Ronald Reagan around in his wallet, which is both kind of sick and strangely arousing to me in the same way. But that's the way Andrew has been to me through the entire class. Discuss our favorite Leadership Lincoln
Just here
moments.
for advice, Rick, so I'm just here for advice.
That's
Justin,
right.
what was your favorite day?
Favorite day? Tough question, really. So I gotta say the first retreat is probably the best. So to me, that was the best. Getting to know people I thought was really fun and exciting, Carrie. So.
You enjoyed that. What person surprised you most from your first impression to the end of the year?
It's a great question, really. Andrew Loudon, I would have to say. So, Andrew, we all know what type of front he likes to push for, but in reality, he really is a liberal, and honestly votes Democrat quite often. So, he's not going to tell a lot of people that. And
the truth.
You aren't filming this, are you?
No, big deal. No.
So,
What did you guys learn about yourself?
well, Rick, I'll go ahead and let you answer that. So, yeah, well,
Wait, I didn't get to talk about my favorite program day.
I'm sorry.
Okay, go
Let's
ahead,
and, let's move forward to that.
But I don't know which one it was, so I don't know where I was going to go with that. But my retreat was your favorite program day, huh? Is that the
I think
one
so.
you really
I mean,
think?
it's some multiple days.
But if you had
it's
to
just-
pick a day out of those that we did, what was yours?
I did enjoy the poverty
Simulation.
simulation. I thought was especially interesting, just because it was such a eye-opening experience, not only for me but to other people going through it and stuff. So I thought that
What
was
way
so
did you think
cool.
it was eye-opening?
I thought just the amount of steps that most people have to take to get through a day.
Yeah, I guess it would have. The assumption for me would have been that was going to be my favorite day.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think the tour of Lincoln was huge for me. I like to
That's
to ride
huge.
around on the tour of Lincoln. The
That's
bus
what I
ride
was
was
gonna
huge.
say. Yeah, but
I think that would have to be one of those moments for me.
what specifically about that did you like?
I think the part that I really wondered. I walked away from that with saying, you know what? Who is the next kind of historian of Lincoln? Because as you
Great
sit there
point.
and you go
Great
around and you hear him talk about, the history, and we all read the Sunday paper, and isn't that where usually
Most
those
of us
articles
do.
are in there?
Yeah.
But you see that, and that was the thing I thought to myself is who's the next one? Who's going to pick up this? Who's going to talk about this 20 years from now? Who's that next historian of Lincoln that's going to tell people these good things? Plus, I was impressed with your knowledge of it on the bus trip. You were flagging down that one of the first 10 houses in Lincoln on 27th Street before.
Well, I heard Jim McHugh was going to be there, so I read all his
So you
books.
did a little reading up on it.
Yeah, just
That was also one of my favorite things.
I
You
thought
were
we're
always
supposed to
prepared.
do. So,
You
So
were-
what,
you know,
what
prepared for
surprised
the
you
class
most
days.
about the Leadership Lincoln experience?
surprised me most about the what surprised me the most about Leadership Lincoln? I think just the sheer amount of knowledge that's out there. Even when you just talk amongst the group, it's just absolutely amazing to see people's different experiences just to bring forward. And when people actually talk and share those experiences, to me, it's just amazing to hear what everybody else has been through, what everybody else does for a living. I think it's absolutely wonderful. And it's great to hear and understand and have some sense of semblance going through that and understanding that.
Yeah, I think it's that way that a diverse group like that can come together and get to know each other and become friends, and then how that carries on to learning from each other and based upon those experiences. I mean, I guess one of those best days. It's tough to name a day, but you learn so much from people when you heard about the kind of skits that we did, where we talked about our history, or we told us, you know, I mean, just hearing those kinds of powerful pieces from each other, you just get really close with a lot of people, and hey, that surprised me about leadership.
Okay, we need closing thoughts. What's your closing thought for the group?
Rick, I'll go ahead and defer to you.
Never bowl alone. Is that?
Out of the gutter into the community. Leadership Lincoln, Class 20.
Okay, favorite Leadership Lincoln memory?
My favorite Leadership Lincoln memory was the Ashland bar, where everybody mixed and got to know each other, and actually Rick had some, he was very entertaining that night. A lot of people were very entertaining that night. So that was my favorite memory.
And what was your favorite Leadership Lincoln day that we had?
You know, I think it was the retreat. The retreat in Mahoney State Park.
And why?
And just getting to know people, kind of learning the learning styles and what kind of drives people and motivates people. So those were my favorite experiences.
And what did you learn about yourself in Leadership Lincoln?
I learned a lot about myself. Maybe that I need to get more involved, I think, is what I learned the most.
Nice. All right. Favorite Leadership Lincoln memory?
My favorite memory is probably at the retreat, the night that we all went to the tackle box, and we just talked and talked and talked, and then it got to be like the end of the night, and that's when there were, I believe, 6 of us left, and we're all talking, let's go get some food, and I'm the only one with a car, so 6 of us get into my 5-seater vehicle and go to the Flying J, which I believed was around the corner, which in fact it was actually down I-80, several miles. So it was Rick and Mike Bowden and Sean Upton and Andrew Loudon and
Justin
and me. So I was like laying across the guys in the back seat as Andrew Loudon was spewing political rhetoric. At the end of the year, I felt like, oh my God, okay, that's him. Hey, good for you. Because I felt like initially I really kind of bonded with the folks that I did based on who they are, and that remained the same throughout the year.
All right. And this is Catherine's question. What challenged you most about Leadership Lincoln?
It challenged me because I had to come in with all my insecurities and put myself out there to learn about contributing with like the most amazing people I feel are on the planet, and come in and say, I can do it, here's what I've got, little or nothing, I'll give it to you. And it teaches me to continue to do that with everybody, and then also in other aspects of my life.
Nice. Good job. Good job.
Where's Supergirl?
Supergirl.
Okay, I left my cape in the car, but I try to, wear my diamond tiara whenever I can.
All right, favorite memory of Leadership Lincoln?
Favorite memory? Why all these hard ones? I was trying to think of this earlier, but one of my most favorite ones was when we were all sharing about our heritage or something about our life, and just watching Tammy pull out every 4-H project she'd ever had, and all the instructions on how to do it, and then all of her, well, I tried to make mittens, and she made like 20 mittens of all for one hand, and I was just crying by the end of it. And then she said, and then I go home, and they still have my macrame on the wall. That was one of my favorite memories. And I'd have to say that. And then when we did Performing Arts Day, one of my favorite things was going to the very different types of paintings in the gallery with Modesta, who was to, I don't know if I will ever, she said, I don't know that I will ever understand this, this type of art, and could you explain it to me?
Well, I would say that my favorite day would have to be when we were at the Firefighters Hall, basically because I didn't realize that Wendy could make a firefighter blush. Favorite day? I think my favorite day was, in all honesty, the poverty simulation. That was maybe the one activity that opened my eyes more than any other. To think that there are people in this community that struggle the way they do. And it really made it real. I'd always heard about poverty and people in low income and that kind of thing, but really to be put in that situation was a real eye-opener for me. So, and what person surprised me? What do you think? I think the person who most surprised me was Rick, actually. I think, well, definitely I gained a lot of respect for Rick throughout the year. It seemed like every time I talked to him in depth and the more I learned about him, the more passionate it was obvious that he was about the things that he does, and his work with human services, obviously, and his political beliefs and his beliefs about serving your country. All of it was really a joy for me to learn, and made me see him in a whole different light by the end of the year than what I had thought just from initial first-time meetings. So I think Rick really surprised me. Well, I think the thing that surprised me most about Leadership Lincoln was I was pretty sure it'd be heavy on civic government, those kinds of issues, structure of City Hall and the civil services, firefighters, police, those kinds of things. But I guess I was really surprised by the depth and breadth of the experience. A lot of information about the arts in this community that I had no idea was going on. A lot of information about human services that I had no idea was going on. A lot of people doing a lot of things behind the scenes to really make Lincoln a better place for myself and my family, and I'm glad that they're all doing it. And I think that'd be it.
Mike, can you tell us, Michael, can you tell us a favorite memory of Leadership Lincoln?
Mine would be the timeline we did day 2 of the retreat.
Which one was that?
Because when we did the timeline of Lincoln, how everybody put in, kind of piped up their stories about what they knew from however far back we went, 1800s or something, all the way up till now, and how everybody kind of knew the same things and pieced things together, and how some of us didn't have a clue about things, like me. Because I guess I call Lincoln home. I've lived here the longest, but yeah, that was probably the most memorable part.
Who surprised you in our Leadership Lincoln class?
Our class. This would surprise everybody, but I'm gonna say Carrie Campbell. Because during that first group, one of those first groups on the first day of the retreat, she was just kind of sitting there quiet, didn't say much, nothing at all. And then there was the walk to the top of the tower in the park at like 3 a.m. looking for her cabin she couldn't find. It was a whole different Carrie Campbell, so that made it a lot more fun.
Following that, who do you think the funniest person in our Leadership Lincoln class was?
I think it's probably like Justin, Rick, and Andrew together, especially on a political conversation. I would probably say, actually, the one that I really remember the most was probably the police day. Just hearing, I think, the phone call that he played and how much they couldn't do anything about it. Knowing a kid's getting abused and just, they couldn't do anything. And that was kind of awakening.
What happened on your ride-along that you remember?
Oh, dude. My ride-along.
Put you back up there.
You know, my ride-along wasn't too eventful. I got to climb into a house because their staircase was gone. I guess we spent like an hour at Cornhusker Place with her. They tested her for drugs, couldn't find anything, all these different things, and just really seeing how that works and understanding everything they told us about, you know, the emergency protection and where do you take her if she's not testing positive for drugs or alcohol and all these things. That kind of stuck out.
If you could describe yourself as one Lincoln monument, what would it be?
The guy that goes to Omaha every day and sticks up for Lincoln. Because as much as we try to work together, they still are like, yeah, you live in Lincoln, small town, so I guess I try to defend the place a little bit because I like it. I call it home now. I moved back here again, so.
Why is that? Why is that Omaha riff there, do you think?
I don't know. Is it because we stole their capital or something? Or I don't know. Omaha, you know, they have 800,000 people. They think it's a big town, but it's still, I mean, it's a lot like Lincoln. It's small town community moving into the big city, and it's really not that different. Yeah, they got some more shopping, some good restaurants, but we can drive there to do that, so.
Do we get to ask you about your ride-along? Rick.
Yeah, Rick, how was your ride-along?
Come join
Rick. Come on over.
Tell us about the court date.
I want to say something about a monument, though. We can't forget Tasties.
Tasty in
Come
Rocks.
on. That would
Tasty
be,
in.
if I was a Lincoln monument, I would be Tasty.
Tasty in and
Tasty in. Okay. Rick, tell us about your ride-along experience.
I had a pretty bland ride-along experience. I think it was vastly different than the rest of you were able to experience. It sounded like you all had some adventurous times, some good times. Mine stayed fairly boring. Continues to be boring as I await my court date in order to see the officers and the young gentleman in which they had a brawl with on a front porch. I'm not allowed to say a whole lot since my lawyer is not present. Where is Andrew?
That's a good question.
Michael, do you know where he is?
No, he was here earlier, but
I have retained Andrew to represent me, I hope. And I'm not allowed to talk a whole lot about the details of the case, but to say that until you've experienced a out-and-out brawl between the Lincoln Police Department and the citizenry of Lincoln, you haven't truly experienced Leadership Lincoln. So I encourage everybody out there to take that opportunity.
Your favorite Leadership Lincoln moment?
My favorite Leadership Lincoln moment was during our poverty simulation when Modesta came on to Brad Bryan.
What?
She tried to sell herself to him, so.
Nice. What day do you think touched you the most or had the most lasting impression on you?
It's a hard question because there were a lot of different days. I liked the law enforcement day, but I also really liked the, I don't know what day it was, when we had the panel of different people, of the immigrants, and I really liked hearing their different stories.
who surprised you over the year?
Everybody. Surprised me the most. Well, I was surprised a little bit by all the educated people that we had, and yet there were still some people in our group who just really weren't very sensitive to the nonprofit world.
That's a good one. What did you learn the most about yourself during the year?
Well, it helped me to speak up more and get more confident because there was a lot of days when I just was kind of like, listen. Maybe not share, but now I'm way more comfortable sharing.
Nice. Anything
I'm
else
sure
you want
everyone
to
is
say?
happy about that.
Anything else you want to say?
No.
No, come on, like something. Woo. Vote Democrat or something?
Yeah, not. Vote Heinemann.
So what was your favorite memory of this year's Leadership Lincoln?
I'm going to say my police ride-along was one of my favorite memories. We drove 85 miles an hour down South Street. I don't think I'll ever experience that ever again in my entire life.
Who surprised you most in this Leadership Lincoln class?
Surprised me in what way?
Anyway.
Oh, God. I would have to say Mike, when we had our final retreat.
We only had 5 mics.
Oh,
I gotta think. Mike Reynolds.
Mike Reynolds, when he shared his story of his drug rehab and alcoholic rehab and everything like that. So that would be my biggest surprise of the whole class.
Probably the person who surprised me most this year. I really don't have one person. Everybody was individual and unique, and it was fun to get to know everybody. There were a couple of surprises. Not anybody specific. I miss everybody one Thursday a month. The day that really stuck out for me was probably the poverty simulation. I've been dealing with it with employees, but to kind of get to experience as a child opened my eyes. Some of the other days, a lot of things were things I knew a little bit about. What I remember most about my Leadership Lincoln experience was just the getting to network and know everybody, and now I see people in meetings and I see people out in the community, and it's great to have a name with a face and be able to network and do those types of things.
Do you always wear a suit?
Yes. Yes, I do every day.
And what was your favorite Leadership Lincoln memory?
I don't know. My favorite Leadership Lincoln memory was sharing a bed with Justin Carlson at the Leadership Lincoln retreat. We spooned.
Hold the camera still. Could you pull out your wallet, please?
Yes. Yes, I can.
And could you pull out what pictures you have in that wallet?
Yes. I have my children. That would be Kristen and John.
Okay, get to the good stuff.
Okay, then I've got my hero.
There he is.
Ronald Reagan.
And what do you like to do, and what did you do the first night of Lincoln?
Oh, that's just so funny. I love Ronnie. Okay. He's a good man. Our
That's my
40th
question.
president.
What was your favorite day in Leadership Lincoln?
My favorite day in Leadership Lincoln was probably at the courthouse.
And why?
Learning about things that people thought I knew that I really didn't, because I don't do criminal law and things like that. So it was actually pretty helpful. Pretty serious now.
Who do you think the funniest person in Leadership Lincoln was?
Carrie Campbell.
And that was not a loaded question. Okay. Who did you meet in Leadership Lincoln that your first impression changed over time of them?
Oh, now this is dangerous. My wife is standing right here. I don't know. That's good. You stumped me.
Oh, wow. Come on.
My impression was wrong. Is that the...
Or just changed.
Changed. Dean. I had preconceived notions about Leadership Lincoln. I thought it was a nonprofit, politically correct session, and it wasn't. And it was very helpful. And so, Dean, you won me over. I love you.
Anything else you'd like to say?
Vote Republican.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Another turning point, a fork stuck in the road. Time grabs you by the wrist, directs you where to go. So make the best of this test and don't ask why. It's not a question but a lesson learned in time. It's something unpredictable, but in the end is right. I hope you had the time of your life. So take the photographs and still frames in your mind, hanging on a shelf in good health and good time. Tattoos of memories and dead skin on trial. For what it's worth, it was worth all the while. It's something unpredictable, but in the end is right. I hope you had the time of your life.